How on today we're going to answer some of the question in the TedEd is how do airplanes actually fly? So we're going to talk about we're going to answer some of the discussions today what we're talking about. First question number 6, and the thing is part is that since wings do not have to curve and generate lift, so why are airplanes being designed to be curves? So actually the wings are curved to make it lift stronger and more smoother. That is why wings is just a little bit curved. Even when we see it, it's actually curved, and the curved shape is helped the airflow better and makes flying easier. So we all know wings is not flat like a triangle or just a long triangle or anything. It's actually one part of it is actually curved. Then the air can lift better and as well as stronger as well as also smoother when they're flying. So it's flow better and makes flying easier and more efficient. Secondly, is that why is longer path expansion incorrectly? For Albert Einstein in 1970, Albert Einstein explained the relationship between space and time, and he also explained how this worked by making the longer path explanation. The longer path idea is wrong because air on top doesn't meets the air from the bottom, because the air from the top of the wing did not actually meet it. Instead, it's go the opposite way. Instead of it doesn't actually meet the air from the top of the wing, actually the longer path, and it doesn't actually meet, even on the longer path of the way, it does not meet the air from the top, and then it's actually not going to meet from the bottom because it's not immediately bumping and goes down. So the lift comes from the air pressure differently, not equal travel time. So it's not equal travel. It's actually because lift comes from the air pressure, and it's much different. Second, let's move on to the third question. Is that based on what you learned in the video, would a pilot want to take off facing the wind or away from the wind, and why? A pilot takes off facing the wind, off, because it takes off facing the wind because the wind creates more lift, and the winds help it lift. It doesn't mean that the winds are big can lift flying a kite. It doesn't mean that. It means that the pilots the pilots are more likely to off the wings or just facing the wind instead of off the wind, which is pilot takes off facing the wind because the wind help it creates more lift, and so the plane can rise faster as well as also functions like a runway. So when winds are pushing there, it's more likely the air are much more, which is generates the lift as well as also facing the wind because it helps create more lift as well as also the plane rise faster and less of the runway. So a last question and discussion is that no one in Einstein's time understood how lift was generated, but they still designed the sets for airplanes wing. How do you think this is even possible? First, that people in Einstein's time used experimental and testing as well to design wings, and they learned that works in trying different shapes. In Einstein's time in 1970s, the people don't actually know because they don't know because more likely even they did the lift was generated. They don't know, and the time no one understood the Einstein. Einstein had made several discovery. The cat's back, for example, the cat back nickname also as well because it's curved. They invented equations, naive equations, lots of different kind of that, and no one actually understood. No one at all. They did not understand his equation. He didn't understand his mathematics, his methods, nothing. But they also, why can they do that? Because they learned what works by trying to different shapes. And trying different shapes actually matters because when we are trying shapes, for example, circles, weird shapes, maybe triangles, and sometimes curves that are super curves, and then sometimes curves that are curve, and their curves are totally straight. So they try different shapes even if they don't know the science yet, because sometimes people don't actually care about science because at time equation math they don't actually understand the science and the methods of that, how the wings actually mix. The people don't understand using that. People in Einstein time use experiments and actual testing. They make wings that actually fly, and they design wings. They learned what works. They learned what works by trying different kind of shapes in the wings. Wings that have different shapes. We all know the wings have different shapes, and if they don't know science at all, they still built it. But no matter what, they built wings that don't need equations or scientists. So this is the end of my answer question. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.